السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Inshallah, in today's session, I will try to take you all through the basics of microfinance, what it's all about, how it has impact overall in empowering the poor and the needy, and what can Islamic finance come in, and how we can work on Islamic microfinance, which will definitely be a more effective way of serving the Ummah. Uh, Before we start, the person who is on this screen, I hope most of you all would recognize him. He's an 84-year-old economic professor from Bangladesh, someone who won the Nobel Prize in 2006. So the specialty of this professor is he has served the poor and the needy in a more effective way where world couldn't unrecognize him. So what happened in 1976, Professor Yunus, he's known as Professor Yunus, he's an economist, and currently he serves as the chief advisor for the Bangladesh government, and also a Nobel Prize winner for in the year 2006. So in 1976, Professor Yunus started, and he found, according to the narrations, so he found that poor people are struggling in Bangladesh, and especially the women, and how he can contribute. So the only way they had is to go and meet the loan sharks, or the people who lend at very high interest rates. So as a help, what he has done, he has spent around $27 from his own pocket and dispersed among 42 ladies. $27 dispersed among 42 ladies in 1976. And he has made an effective way to collect the sum. And he found that is very effective, where people or the borrowers also utilized it. It was helpful for them, while he also made a reasonable profit. So based on that, he started borrowing. What he made, he went to the banking level, where he borrowed from the bank and start lending to the poor in a specific way, which was known as microcredit. So after this, the impact was such, he started making a huge impact on millions of poor people in Bangladesh. And therefore, in 2006, in 1980, he had his own bank, which is known as Grameen Bank. So through Grameen Bank, he started helping the poor in a specific manner. And for his contribution in 2006, Professor Yunus was recognized as a Nobel Prize winner, and the Nobel Prize went into two parts. That is, one for him for his contribution, and since it was his effort was done through Grameen Bank. Grameen Bank also was recognized in year 2006. Let's just try to go through this video to have a basic idea of Professor Yunus and his contribution on a very small manner. Please apologize for the advertisement, which is
Professor Muhammad Yunus.
Professor Muhammad Yunus.
Professor Yunus.
Professor Yunus. How do we save this planet? We have to undo that system. We're not undoing the system, we just talk about it. So what is happening? What kind of economy we have? All the wealth that we have is just in the corner of 1%. And the rest has fraction of a percent. And it's getting worse every day. I don't want to belong in a human society where everybody or most of the people are beggars. I feel the intent as a human being to do the things to take care of myself and take care of the whole world, and that's what the human being is all created for. I'm feeling jealous because we didn't have any one young world when we were young. If you want to go to a new destination, the imagination that created new destination, new world, old roads will not take you there. Remember that. You need to build new roads to go to the new destination. The more money you make, more successful you are. That's the only measure of your success. You are making money for yourself. And suddenly it came to my mind, Human beings are not money-making robots, but somehow economics taught us to become money-making robots. Conventional bankers always telling me, we can't lend money to the poor people. You know why? Because they're not creditworthy. I have heard it millions of times. Should the banks tell people whether they are creditworthy or not? People should be telling the banks whether they are people worthy or not.
Okay. Now, so since then, Professor Yunus has made a huge impact, as I told you. He has made a huge impact in the world where this is the current status of Grameen Bank. It has over 2,568 branches around Bangladesh, and more than 23,700 people are serving currently. So it is also known as the banker to the poorest of the poor. More than 10 million people have had borrowed since the beginning to now, and more than 81,000 villages are being covered, and the value which has been dispersed under Grameen Bank is $40 billion. It is $40 billion. So how did Grameen Bank did all this? So and what is microfinance? So microfinance, if you see the word microfinance comes under two words, right? Micro means small, finance means credit. So technically we are talking about giving small credit to a segment of people where banks are not interested with, because usually we talk when we talk about finance, we always talk about people who can repay, right? We always talk about people who can repay. When money is given, the first and the most important concern is how many people can they repay. That's the credit worthiness, what we call as ability to repay and willingness to repay. Now this segment is not the bank's interest segment, where the bank is not interested because of several reasons. One, they don't have a stable income to repay. Number two, they don't have a proper business established. Number three, there are no guarantors. Number four, they don't have assets. Like that, and in general, their education level are quite less. So due to several other reasons, if you put these numbers into the bank's credit score, there is something called credit score, where bank do a calculation and see based on the score they will decide to lend to that person or not. So this category of poor people will not fall within that bank's interest segment. So therefore, microfinance is all about giving money to the poor people, and it has to be in a small amount, and it has to be in a most effective way. So if you see the bankable segment and non-bankable segment, poor can be categorized into a broader three segment. The first segment is extreme poor, right? We will cover in the next slide. Then there is another segment called moderate poor and relatively poor. So all these segment, right? If you see overall, their income levels are very low, right? And generally they are not accepted in the society. They don't have proper collateral or assets to be kept, right? There are no guarantees, or people are not willing to come forward to come and guarantee these people. And they are generally, their education level is also less. So they, most of these people, especially the people who are moderate or extreme poor, they live below $1 per day, right? So due to several of such reasons, this segment is considered as non-bankable. Banks are not interested in funding them. Bank are not interested in funding them for several other reasons. So anyone who is not within this segment of poor category, and who have some savings, and especially they can prove themselves that they are able to repay the amount, then you are considered as bankable. So what, in other words, what we say is poor people, they don't have any other financing option, right? They have to be left out, and the person who can repay only can get the loan. So being poor is will not qualify you to go and get into a basic business and go to the next level. So microfinance is all about focusing this segment, the poor category, and how are we to take them to the next level using different techniques and systems. Now, as I said you, the poverty levels can be categorized in these extreme, moderate, and relative. So, extreme poor category, they don't have unable to meet their basic needs. So it's all about survival. They are more focused on the next meal what they want to have. They are more focused on the water, the clothing, shelter for the next day, for the next week, because their basic needs are shattered and they have not met them at all. So the moderate poor is just above ahead, one step ahead the extreme poor, right? Maybe they are earning around $1 to $2. That's we are talking about 3 to 600 rupees or below 1,000 rupees per day, right? Just enables to household just to barely meet their basic needs, but still they don't have proper access to education, healthcare, and they are still vulnerable in terms of their society, their general acceptancy and their status. So relatively poor means they have actually passed the first two category. So their income level is insufficient to meet their expenses. So they have an income level reasonable but much or below the average which is required to focus. So these three categories will not be entertained, or banks are very less interested due to several other reasons to fund them or facilitate them. Now, when we talk about financial inclusion, what we say is we need to find a manner, we need to find a mechanism through where everyone, where people or most of the population have access to affordable financial products, right? That is having payments, savings, credit, insurance, all the financial products through different mechanism. So microfinance is all about looking at what are the options available to facilitate that segment who come under vulnerable, who come under the poor, and especially who are not bankable due to their financial instability. So the Islamic Development Bank, right? What they say is microfinance is not just it's not just as small. Now we said microfinance is two segment. One is small, and the finance is the credit, small credit. No, Islamic Development Bank has defined microfinance is not just small credit. We have to take them to the next level. They talk about two types of funding or two types of services where the funder, especially the investor, has to invest in. One, the first segment is known as the soft skills or the soft investments. The second one, the soft intervention. The second category is known as hard intervention. Now, when it comes to soft intervention, now we know we are dealing with the poor segment. We are dealing with the people who are below education level. We are dealing with the poor, the segment who have not fulfilled their basic needs. So when you go to them, they have several. There can be several leakages. There can be several downside in funding them because they are yet to meet their basic needs. So the basic idea here is before we go and do the funding, we have to educate them. It's all about increasing their knowledge, identifying their knowledge, increasing them, and manage their skill in an effective manner. So before the funding take place, we hold hand to hand and take the borrower through the journey and take him to a bankable level. So microfinance is all about the skill. It's not about merely funding. It's all about educating, increasing their skills, recognizing, and it's a hand-to-hand thing which we take them until they reach the bankable level. So the initial part is the education. Then the second part is about the business. Now we know the people who are in need of money, right? They are the business acumen or the knowledge is very less. So the microfinancial institutions who are into microfinance, they have a responsibility in educating the borrowers of how to do the business, and in each segment in terms of how to start a business, how to keep accounts, how to protect cash, how to the repayment process, then the reinvestment process, the collection process. Everything needs to be taught because we are dealing with that the low income and a low education level support. Now, after these first two segments, the skills are being uplifted, right? Through intervention, through the soft skills, soft intervention. Then the hard intervention comes where loans are being disbursed. So the money will be given. It's not money. The money will be given, and it will be closely monitored. Then they will be taught how to save the money. So what is the micro insurance? How to do what do you call insurance among themselves? How to transfer the money? Because sometimes these people are less education due to their less education level. The tech they also will not be tech savvy to do the transfers and the needful. So, according to the Islamic Development Bank, microfinance is not only merely funding the poor category in a small manner. It's all about educating them, increasing their skills level, and taking the journey. In the meantime, the funding also would take place. So here they are giving the example of how the soft intervention comes and the hard intervention comes in microfinance compared to the conventional general finance, where we talk about the funding which take place in a banking level. In a banking level, we don't go to that extent. We see what are the what could be the drawbacks in terms of risk of what can make him not pay. Other than that, we are not the financial institutions are not that much interested in taking the customer from the low level to the next level. So in microfinance, it's several steps beyond the standard financial intervention between the financial institutions and the customers. Right. Now, what are the businesses we can talk when it comes to microfinance? We see the businesses can be street vendors, okay? Then there can be carpenters, the machine shop operators, there will be dressmakers, then the farmers, right? Now, they will have different, now, these are the types of businesses where we can think about where microfinance can come in. Now, so the businesses can be in several types, that means all types, and it can be in many sizes. Sometimes one business can be only a 5,000 rupee turnover per week or per month, sorry, per week or per day. In the meantime, another business can be around 20,000 per week, right? So the sizes can be different, right? In the meantime, the types also can be different. So it's very important to identify different types of businesses, different types of what is the most suitable business, and what are the sizes, what type of investment, what type of business that particular person can handle. Because everyone, because we can talk big business, everyone would like to take money and start businesses, but it's not everyone can manage them and make it profitable and make it an effective business. So it's very important to understand the business module. Likewise, also see what is the most suitable business type where we can work around. So this is the standard microfinance business cycle, right? So the client will be appraised. We will in the next slide we will go into detail, right? The client will be appraised. Now, if it's the overall analysis will be done, can we go with this client? So if he's found an as a more eligible client, we can look at the BDS, that is the business development support done given by the microfinancial institution, right? And along with the BDS, the product guidelines also will be clearly given. This is how we are going to give what he needs to do, how he needs to do, how the accounts are be kept, what business type he is going to do, how the collection method, and then the disbursement will take place. When the disbursement takes place, it's very, very important because the people who are at the receiving end, they are the poor, they are the needy. So sometimes the organization will disburse, but sometimes the disbursement officers can be have ulterior motives because they know the people who are collecting are in need of funds, so they are desperate. So before giving, there can be unethical transactions, unethical way of dealing, unethical way of collecting. So it is very important to understand, because IDB has done a there was a report by published by IDB, Islamic Development Bank, on microfinance, specially focused on women and how it can be effective if you do in a proper way. In the meantime, if the certain guidelines and code of conducts are not followed, how the women can be pushed to a situation where it can actually harm them, their overall character, overall what do you call the life, because it's not only giving money, it's all about the whole the society and how they need to be protected as well. So while disbursement is done, the recovery process also needs to be closely monitored. That's one of the most effective way of microfinance, why it has been so successful all over the world, right? So the recovery is very important. Again, on recovery, the code of conduct comes because it's very important to what do you call protect the dignity of the people, the borrowers. Sometimes they might be in a real genuine financial situation. So while respecting their lives and respect their privacy. Recovery also needs to be done. So the code of there'll be there needs to be a strict code of conduct on the recovery process as well. Then after that, the key performance indicators performance assessment will be done. So from the, let's say for the example, through the first stage, if the customer gets through, then we can look at usually the financial institution looks into the second segment, the second round of funding, where you can gradually increase the funding level and take the customer to the next level. So these are the overall lending process in microfinance which takes place. Initially, they will see microfinance is not only funding a person. Usually, they select villages, an area, an effective area where they see really if that recipients are in need. Number one, and do they have the proper line of businesses where they can put their effort and take make some money. Number two, and what are the business the what do you call the practical business modules are more practical in those areas, and they are the culture and related stuff as well. So the geo-economic survey is done, that is on the economic conditions of those respective families or the recipients. And after that, a village or few villages can be picked up. So villages will be picked up based on the population, their need, the financial situation, what are the specific skills. Sometimes there can be for an example, certain areas where they have a river, where they have a sea, so fishing is possible, right? Then if they have farmland, then we can look at something else. If it's an industrial area, then industry related businesses could be started. So the village appraiser takes at a higher level. Then after that, once each village is what do you call identified, then in that village the recipients would needs to be identified and groups would be formed. This is one of the most effective way in microfinance. As I told you earlier, microfinance is not funding an individual or one person. It's all about forming groups. So when you form group, we find they find interested parties, and among them they will introduce each person. So within the village they know Mr. A, Mr. B will be there. If it is ladies, Mrs. A, Mrs. B, Mrs. C is there, each person knowing each other. So the group is formed and their capabilities are identified, and each knows and their financial situations are also clearly known, and they make something called what do you call inter guarantee. Each person guarantees the other person in that group. So in that manner, what happens? There is sort of a peer pressure when it comes to settlement, right? So this is how the microfinance module works. Two things: people, especially the microfinance, the financiers, they prefer to invest into the through the ladies, so, the woman folk, because when it comes to collection, they don't want to get upset. They don't want to get tarnished their names in the village saying that the money was borrowed and was not paid. So they are more they would like to pay the funds on time. Number one. Number two, each person is guaranteed, and if one person doesn't pay, that talk will go around the village. So that is much effective if each person guarantees and knows what's happening and how much each person will be paid or given in terms of loans. So such groups will be formed. Then the one of the most important other factor is training. This training is considered as compulsory. The training will take place in terms of business, how to start a business, what type of business, how much. If it is related to production, the production process. If it is related to sales, how the sales needs to be done, how to tap the customers. The whole thing needs to be taught. If these steps are not followed, the whole business module can collapse. Then after starting the business, how the sales to be done, how to maintain accounts, how to handle cash, what the collection, the repayment and the collection. The each and every segment of these will be clearly and needs to be clearly trained, because if this education level and the training doesn't take place properly, the module will collapse, and it has collapsed. We'll come across the last few slides when there have been some Sri Lankan experiences as well. So this training is very important. Then along with that, uh, scrutinizing underwriting takes place, where for each business you will identify what amount, which amount needs to be given. For an example, let's say a lady wants to start a food business. Now she's good in cooking rice or meals. Now, and she has a few shops or businesses around her area. So every day, 20, 30, 10, 15, 20 parcels of food will be cooked by her and sold. So that is her strength. Now, for that lady only requires what do you call some pans and maybe gas or something related to that where she needs fuel to cook, and that's her requirement. So if the first cycle is done properly along with this, and maybe few kilos of rice needs to be bought, maybe 10, 15 kilos, so her requirement can be fulfilled within 20, 30,000 to start a business. In the meantime, another person wants, she's very good in stitching, right? She has followed a course, or she can be trained, right? So for the second person starting, so her requirement is a sewing machine and some material and related stuff. So each person's requirement is different, and disbursement needs to be different, and each business profitability also can be different. So this scrutiny is very important to identify how much to be given to each person based on the type of business that a respective person is going to start, and what is the business cycle. We know when it comes to cooking, it's a daily thing, where the money will be received on the same day. But when it comes to stitching, what happens, sometimes after buying the material to stitch, it might take a few days, 4 5 days, 10 days to get a reasonable lot, and to sell it to a shop, the shopkeeper might pay in cash or it can be on credit. So even on cash, it will take at least 2 weeks time. So each person's business cycle is different, profitability is also different, and the requirements are also different. That is very important to understand how each person needs to be served and funded. Then the next, the financial transaction, post disbursement, the collection, and the regular meetings. Now, this collection, the most effective microfinance businesses, their collection sometimes happens on a daily basis. The businesses are done on a daily basis. So the collection officer, he will, as I told you, it will be within a village or few villages. He has a responsibility of going and collecting the money on a daily basis. If the money is not collected on a daily basis, since we are actually targeting and funding the poor and the needy, next morning they might need it for something else. So it's very important to effectively go and collect the money on a daily basis. If it is not practical, once in 2 days, 3 days, or on a weekly basis. Soon as we start giving more time for repayment, the effectiveness of collection becomes much lesser. So worldwide, the microfinance collection has been more than 95%, in some cases has been 99% successful. One of the main reason is this post disbursement, the collection method, and the meeting. It also, then the other the factors which I explained earlier of how to select the population, training them, these also matters a lot. And one of the most effective thing is the collection method and the meetings. So after the meetings and after the one or two few rounds, now the financial institution can consider to increase the loan value. That woman has been stitching with one machine. Now we are going with two machines. That lady has been only she's being able to cook, her capacity is only 10, 15, 20 parcels of rice. Now we can go up to 50, where she can take orders, to go to the next level. So like that, after the first few rounds and meetings and continuous collection and appraisals, now that person can be taken to the next level. After that respective person go meets the next level, and the income levels also has increased gradually, now that person can be on a bankable situation. Now the banks also knows this person has been maintaining bank accounts, there has been continuous collection, there has been continuous repayment, there is a proper discipline, the business is running, business is registered, and now that this person can be bankable. Now after this level, the customer, the client or the borrower will not need microfinancing. It will be more effective for that person to go to a bank, because sometimes microfinancing can be expensive, even and the bank funding will be much cheaper. Now, when it comes to Islamic microfinance, all this time what we discussed was general microfinance, interest-based microfinance. So when it comes to Islamic microfinance, the same principle, all the principle what we discuss all this time will be followed, and the only thing is the products will be on Islamic principles. That is, there won't be interest, there won't be unethical products, goods or services dealt with. It will be there. There won't be gharar. What do you call? the goods which are not there won't be uncertain transactions involved. So anything within ethical framework will only be tolerated and entertained under Islamic microfinance. And most importantly, it will be based on profit, and where there will be more barakah and Allah's help, because there will be with the true spirit of Islamic finance. If these principles are followed, it can be more effective compared to conventional microfinance. Even Dr. Yunus, or with all due respect to him, all his funding has been on conventional basis. Even when he won the Nobel Prize, it was on a pure conventional basis based on interest. So, if the same methods and the methodologies of his experience could be utilized in Islamic financial modes, it will be more profitable, and there'll be definitely barakah. So, when it comes to Islamic microfinance products, right, we see cost plus profit, that is the murabaha products, can be used. It can be for goods or machineries. Then it can be musharaka partnerships. It can be partnership on a certain business, certain, it can be transport, different type of businesses, farming, livestock, clothing. These are the type of business where we can think about. Then it can be on a diminishing musharaka, where a machine is bought and gradually repaid. Then wakala as well, wakala investments, where money is taken on a profitable business which is existing. He needs only to move to the next level. And we can think about salam as well, where agriculture finance, where the funds are given at the beginning against someone who has a proven record of farming, and he has what do you call, he has made reasonable returns in the in the previous or in the history. Now he needs for further funding, but banks are not willing to give, because he doesn't have, let's say he might not have the land might not be under his own name. So due to collateral or guarantee issues, so we can look at these Islamic structure as well. So the Southeastern University had done a research in the Sri Lankan the microfinance, Islamic microfinance structures, and the research was done in the Eastern Province. So Eastern Province was considered among all 9 provinces in Sri Lanka. Eastern Province, the poverty levels, the people who are living in Eastern Province, especially the poor category, were considered at number 2 among the 9 provinces in terms of poverty. So they used around 300 individual samples covering 45 divisional secretariats around Eastern Province, and they posed 2 questions. Does Islamic microfinance effect on poverty elevation among the people of Eastern Province? Number one. What are the dimensions of the effect which can make in terms of poverty alleviation by using Islamic microfinance method? So they basically looked at 4 or 5 segments, that is the basic needs, how Islamic finance, microfinance can help the education, health, income, empowerment, and poverty alleviation. So these were the 6 points or the segments they were interested, and based on their findings, uh, what they said was, after if general microfinance has definitely increased, or there is a positive correlation between microfinance and basic needs, education, health, income, empowerment, and poverty elevation, where people can be empowered, their income levels can go up, their health and education can be increased, the basic needs could be fulfilled, and they can be take away from poverty. So there's a positive correlation between microfinance and these segments. What the other findings were, they said overall there were conventional microfinance available in the in the Eastern Province, but Islamic microfinance facilities were available, but compared to that, the network was very low. Number two, the knowledge, the increase in knowledge, in increasing the investment in increasing the knowledge level of the borrowers needs to be the investment on those lines needs to be increased further. So, because if the borrower or the recipient is not educated, especially on how to develop their business and how to maintain records, how to do the sales, how to do the collection and accounting, then overall, if that is not done or not educated, the overall business model will what do you call, collapse, and the capital will be lost. So the capital which is raised for microfinance can erode or can reduce if the recipients are not effectively trained. Then the one of the other observations what they have found is uh, they need to find a different mechanism to monitor to make sure that the same person doesn't get multiple loans. Sometimes he will borrow through the masjid, he will borrow through another institution. So the same person is getting multiple loans because he is more clever in getting, because of their desperation or some other reason. So it's sometimes unfair that one segment keeps on getting further loans, while the needy and poor, some of the another segment of the needy and the poor are not taken care, because they are not smart enough to approach and get their funds. Then the other thing is the documentary process. Sometimes it is Islamic finance, because the process needs to be followed in a more effective and Islamic manner. The documentation is usually high, so that is also has been one of the concerns of the university research. Then to start a microfinance fund, uh, it is through consultation with the Sharia scholars and the local bodies. Uh, some have suggested that zakat, sadaqah, hiba, waqf, endowment can be more effective, because actually then after so the if a fund is being started through Islamic safety nets, then the ultimate objective of the fund is not profit making. But if the fund is started by a private institution, because usually what happens in microfinance, the profit rates are very high. The profit rates are very high, but the customer will not feel that because of frequent collection. For an example, the loan amount can be only 10,000 rupees, right? For that 10,000, if a 10,000 or 20,000 is given to a lady to start her business, and on a daily basis, the business is asking, or the please pay me 200 rupees. Now for a 20,000 investment through her say a food meal sale, she's making maybe 3,000 rupees or 4,000 rupees. So around 20 25,000 20 25% return on a daily basis. So on that thing, if she's for her, after collecting 3,000 rupees, paying 200 rupees is not a big deal. But on a 200 on a daily basis means for 5 days it becomes 1,000 rupees. Let's say out of 4 weeks she only is cooking for 3 weeks, so she's collecting 3,000 rupees, and 3,000 rupees is being paid for the finance year. So if 3,000 rupees paid on a monthly basis for a 2,000 rupees for a year, it is actually 36,000. Even leaving the school holidays and those things, even if it is effectively paid only for 10 months, still it's around 30,000. For a 20,000 loan, 30,000 is repaid, that is more than 100%. Even the banks are giving the facilities at 15 20%. So microfinance is actually more profitable for the financier, and it's not cheap. But why it is more effective is the customer is paying on a regular basis, and the customer is actually trained, taught, educated. So it is not a one way thing, it's a two-way thing. So therefore it is very effective. Countries like Pakistan, Indonesia, Malaysia has seen, there are international organizations like Ahuat, and in Sri Lanka, Muslim Aid and few other organizations also practicing microfinance. So if microfinance is done in a proper way and following Islamic principles, inshallah, we are sure that the poor segment and the vulnerable segment, especially the people who are non-bankable or where the banks are not interested or banking them, can be their lives could be uplifted in a positive manner. Then along with that, before we go to the question and answer session, inshallah, we have a through Ummat, we have a session for the business community, especially which is conducted in Tamil for the male folks. It's a physical course which will take place for 3 days, inshallah, between 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. In Kolpiti, 18th, 22nd, and 25th. The whole idea of this course is actually to increase the practical knowledge of the business community, and how to follow the Islamic principles, especially while doing businesses, investing, borrowing, and other factors. So it's a course, and brothers can register for the course. And if you have any other questions, please let us know on microfinance or general stuff related to today's inshallah lecture. Any questions?
Case studies.
Getting it. They have asked any case studies in Sri Lanka with regard to microfinance. As I told you, the Eastern University, Southeastern University have done a case study in Sri Lanka, and the findings are there. If someone is interested, we can share the document. Other than that, the bank levels. The banking level microfinance is not practical because of several regulative reasons. Likewise, the depositors are also reluctant when it comes to microfinance. But there are financial, what do you call, organization, NGOs, INGOs who are been practicing microfinance in Sri Lanka. But there is a lot of effort needs to be done to set the tone right in terms of training and the structure, because it's not all about disbursement. It's a whole process of taking the poor and the needy through the whole process, and educating them, funding them, and uplifting their life and make them bankable. Yes, Islamic. There is a way of.
Read the question.
There's a question. Is it legal to start an Islamic microfinance business in Sri Lanka? Yes, there are institutions where you can register yourself through the. I'll get you more information about the legal side of registering. Through that, Islamic microfinance could be practiced. As I mentioned earlier, Muslim Aid and few other Muslim organizations are doing in an official and in a sort of a larger scale. Then on a masjid levels and small societies also doing informally. But definitely, yes, Islamic microfinance could be registered and practiced. Then there is a question related to stock market. I think we have already covered that lecture some time back. If there are any consultation or questions, I think if you can contact Ummat for further clarification related to stock market and related stuff. They have asked what are the challenges do Islamic microfinance institutions face in rural areas? When it comes to rural areas, the main thing is to identify. After you identify the area, as I told you, microfinance is not funding an individual. It has to go through the village. It's the community engagement is very, very important. So after identifying, you have to see the most suitable business model. Number two, and engage them in an effective way. They need to be educated. So unless we educate the customers as the recipients, it will not be effective. So that education part is it's lacking. Then the multiple loan is an issue, because if there are a few institutions working or organization who are giving microfinance or microcredit, so the same person who is smart, he is able to get loans from several other persons, while what do you call people who are also deserving cases are not getting, because the same one or segment is getting the funds. So these are few findings from the practical side of microfinance. Other than that, the overall microfinance, the module system and collection and the effectiveness has been high, not only in Sri Lanka, worldwide as well. There are some bad cases in terms of experience due to several other reasons, because sometimes that segment, I heard even in Colombo there were few microfinance organizations started and it did not work. Maybe the lack of experience, and that especially forming the groups and forming that society is very important. If that is not in a proper not done in a proper manner, the whole system might collapse. Okay, Jazakallah khair. So, inshallah, let's meet with for another session. And if there are people who wanted to register for the upcoming course, inshallah, we will share the details of the course, the form. You can register for the upcoming course, inshallah. Jazakallah khair.